All right, we live. Welcome to the cut, fellas. Another episode. We got our regular cast of characters. I feel like we be swapping G-Dub and the bad guy out every single week.
I was not feeling it last week. I didn't even want to do the little thing we was doing.
I'm gonna be feeling it sometime.
Nah, man, I was sick. I was on the couch holding my stomach, looking crazy.
What you eat, bro? What you eat, bro?
No.
I told you to stop eating all that gas station food.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, you don't be listening to me. I'd be like, bro, you can't eat the gas station food all the time. Every once in a while, you gotta like push back. Be like, nah, bro, I'm gonna go get this salad. It's something, bro. You can't just.
I got a chance them wings. Got a chance them wings.
That good old cookout, man. I mean, we need a cookout up here in Baltimore, man.
No, you do not.
Well, y'all get it popping. Let me do introductions, and then we'll talk about fast food. We can talk about fast food. We got my man, the bad guy. We got Wicked Thurman. They here to give their wrong opinions about things.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
Always starting shit.
Yeah, of course because you gotten us in trouble a couple times. I had to like cut out whole segments because of your ass. And of course, I'm your host, Country Boy. And today we got a special guest. We got my man OTR Mike from Off the Record Podcast. You know, they doing amazing work. Mike, won't you tell the people where they can find you, where they can locate you, and all of your social media handles?
Man, what's up, people? Back on the cut, one of my favorite podcasts. I'm 1/4 of the Off the Record Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at OTR_pod. So we finally got a landing spot for the Twitter. So that's OTR_pod. Then my personal Twitter is OTR_Mike. We on IG at OTR_podcast, Facebook OTR_podcast. And check out at Crossover 365. That's the media company that we rocking with right now.
Yeah, that's dope. I want to touch on that. I'm not gonna get on that quite yet. Later on, we're gonna talk about the media company and everything you guys do. You guys are doing a lot. You're doing a lot right now. I'm kind of envious. But y'all it's a collaboration in the team of y'all, which helps a lot, you know.
Yeah, we left Mike solo. We just come in and start shit and then disappear.
Exactly. Well, and then Mike, during the week, I'm like cleaning up shit. Hey, we didn't really mean that. What we really meant to say.
Yeah, man. It's you know, I'll be honest with you, man. Like we had like a coming to Jesus moment, like probably like a month ago. Because you know, things, believe it or not, off the record, man, it was some you know, behind the scenes issues going on. And we four brothers, man. We known each other for over 20 years. So
right.
You know, it was love. It was never going to be the ending of no friendships, anything like that. But we just had to buckle down on, you know, the path and the way we wanted to go with OTR, man, and spreading out some of the work, you know, and getting everybody on the same page and getting everybody involved. So, you know, once we did that, man, like things, it took a turn for the best, man, and you know, everybody grinding now. So we had to have that little sit down moment. We took about 2 weeks off from each other from podcasting, and then we came back and we hit the ground running, man.
Yeah, I completely understand that. It's not even about, you know, the work and pushing things on it, but it just feels like a lot of times, especially with us, because we've been, you know, when we first started doing this, I didn't know anything about seasons. I didn't know people took time off like they would do a season. We just pumping out episodes like Gucci, you know what I'm saying? Just like constant putting out, and then you're like, oh wow, you guys could take a break. Well, I don't even know what that's like. What is that like? You know, take out the season. I don't know. So,
yeah, that's us too. Like, man, we don't know nothing about no seasons or anything like that. That 2 weeks we took off, it just happened because we kind of had some beef with each other behind the scenes. So it's just like, all right, well, ain't nobody talking to each other for 2 weeks. Let's just chill. Let's just get it together. So it ended up being a good thing for us, though.
We might take a break at some point. for like a month.
Keep going, yo. Don't do it, yo. Keep going. Like if you got some, so this is my thing. Like if you got some episodes that you haven't put out yet, or like sometimes we'll re-release an episode that didn't do well, one of our first episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then take a week off or something like that. But if you got it going, man, you got it consistent, because you know how black folks do, man. You take a break, man. It's hard to get everybody back.
You never get everybody back.
You'll straight lose me, bro. Straight lose me.
He might tell the front, cuz.
But I mean, taking a break, I don't know if people would miss it, or they'd be like, when you try to get back together, like, nigga, I see, like, I'm good, I'm out, I'm Gucci. We did it. It was a good run. Let's just go ahead and stop this here, whatever. Anyway, back to the point. You guys are talking about fast food. We got a little heavy there for a second. You guys are talking about fast food and your love for cookout. We got that. Cookout was started. The first cookout was in Greensboro. And I remember I rode by it. It's this fucking hole in the wall. You see it. You like, that's the first cookout? They like, yeah, man, that's where it all got started. And I remember the first time I ate there, I was like, one, why is it named Cookout? And two, I don't see the hype. But now that I'm a more seasoned, I kind of understand why people love it, because it's cheap. It's cheap as shit, and the food is good. Like, there's nowhere you can go and for like $5.50, you can get a drink, you get a main, you get a side, and you get something else like a hot dog or chicken wrap.
Right. Really, you get three mains, because shit, they sides is like quesadillas, corn dogs, and chili dogs. It's like, that ain't the main dish. Okay, well, I give you $5 for that.
I call cookout like drunk people food. Like it like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Usually the only thing that's open is a cookout and it's mad people around it, and they all getting this stuff and just slamming it down their throat like it's the best thing that they ever had. I'm like, yeah, after drinking a bottle of Hennessy, hell yeah, it's the goodest thing you'd have ever had. I mean, that's
I used to say the same thing about Waffle House. That Waffle House is drunk people food.
Yeah. That's the first time I had cookout was drunken. It was we were down. Actually, we're down in the Raleigh Durham area. My man got married down there, and I don't know if it was the night. No, matter of fact, it was the night of the wedding. So after the reception, everybody we didn't. So they had a reception. They had a reception, and then one of the cool things that they did is afterwards they did a after party, which was the first time I ever kind of seen that in a wedding. So at the after party, after that, everybody all drunk. One of the dudes from down there is like, "Yo, let's go to this spot called Cookout," and I'm like, "All right." And we pull up. We get there. We like 30 deep, like you said. We all in the parking lot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like you said, it was dirt. It was dirt cheap. Yeah. And I don't know if it was the drunkenness or whatever, but it was amazing. Yep. It was like amazing. I've been talking about Cookout ever since.
Drunk people food.
It's funny. The funny thing about Cookout, when people come from out of town who've been in North Carolina, and they live somewhere else, the two places they always talk about they want to eat in North Carolina is Cookout and Bojangles. They be like, I can't wait to go to Bojangles. And if you live here, you're like, yeah, that's what you want.
That's it.
You drove 500 miles for a fucking cookout?
And Bojangles?
And Bojangles?
Yeah,
that's
Bojangles never hit for me. I was like, because I remember Popeyes. I can replace it had a Popeyes, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, because see, and we grew up with the original Popeyes. That Popeyes you get now ain't the same thing. Just like churches now ain't the same thing. Because I remember back in the day, you go to churches, you used to for like $5, you used to get like 10 pieces of chicken. And we talking about breast and thighs and legs. Yeah. And you would get 2 sides and a couple, biscuits, and they give you toss in a soda.
They would flood you with biscuits. Like you get like 10 pieces and 37 biscuits. Like, who eating all of this?
You see, y'all don't remember them original Church's biscuits.
Oh yeah,
when they used to be dripping with the honey off.
The honey, yes.
It was like sweet rolls almost.
Right.
I don't have good memories.
For $1.
It's only 2 churches here in Charlotte.
That's
and
the
both of them in the hood, and I don't have any good memories. I remember.
And I found both of them.
See, we used to.
Yeah, I visit every now and again. I need a throwback. I have to slide by churches.
Yeah,
but they got fish and all kind of stuff now. They got a fish night, a shrimp night. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all trying to step up?
Churches selling collard greens.
The one on Betty's Ford ain't too bad. It's that area's get gentrified, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's about to be a whole nother thing. It's about to be nothing but vegan food.
Yeah, exactly.
Which ain't bad. Which isn't bad, but you know.
Beyond Chicken. Man, the church is selling Beyond Chicken.
Oh man,
Beyond Chicken.
Yeah, they start doing that at
the biggest piece of Beyond Chicken you'll ever get.
So churches, y'all like churches over Bojangles down that way.
Popeyes is like no.
Popeye. Okay.
Popeyes is like.
You said that I'm an OG. I'm from Charlotte. We prefer Bojangles here. It's an institution.
It's based upon basically where you're from. Like if you're from the deep South, you know Popeyes. If you're from like that quasi South part, you know, like North Carolina, Virginia, some of those kind of places, you like the Bojangles, the KFC, and like if you from out everywhere else, then you know what KFC is and that kind of stuff. So it's only deep South people who really have an appreciation for Popeyes.
Does anybody remember Mrs. Winter's chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to find them as winners. You got to go look for it. Like we used to see it when you used to leave from Starkville. I used to pass through a little town that had a Mrs. Winter. I think it's one in Charlotte, somewhat not Charlotte, but North Carolina, somewhat too. I was in one of these little backwater. Yeah, I was in one of these little backwater towns, and I think I saw
some just for the nostalgia's sake.
I'm sure I did. I can't think of that little city.
And I don't know how we got started talking about food. But
you know how niggas hungry. It's dinner time. I don't know what you talking about. You nigga, you was just eating some goddamn Sonic. You ain't offer nobody none.
No.
Oh, Chick-fil-A. You pretentious bastard. You pretentious bastard.
Yeah, y'all mess with Cuzzo's?
I have not.
Cuzzo's cuisine. Yeah, we just left from there.
Is that the one off of in University?
No, that's over there off Freedom. I think somewhere off in Freedom.
No,
Tuckasegee. That's right, off Tuckasegee.
I'm thinking about.
Did you get the buffet?
No, I got some lobster mac, some wings.
Oh, you special ordered yours? Because I remember
the buffet on Sundays.
Yeah, the Sunday buffet be banging, bro. I'm talking about like you ever seen one of them plates where like you can't close it? They hook you up with one of them. And that's the first time I'd ever seen somebody at a restaurant give you a plate that wouldn't close. You know, usually they trying to cheat you. You know what I'm saying? They trying to slide four rolls in the top of there so you can think you got some food. But
Cuzzo don't make nothing that look like it's less than 2,000 calories. There is nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yes. They are the quintessential soul food restaurant of Charlotte, pretty much.
Hey,
like
I know. Back when I used to fool with it, Floyd's was that pork chop. That pork chop plate was it.
Floyd's still open?
Yeah, it's still open.
They closed one of their locations. Floyd's used to serve that pork chop sandwich on white bread with the bone-in pork chop sandwich on white bread.
Ryan was just getting on me for eating at gas stations. I'm working in Pembroke up there, and it's a gas station that got that pork chop sandwich on white bread. And I make a special trip to get over there to it.
Gas stations on fire now. You can't even.
Some of them.
Now,
some
we're
of
talking
them.
country right now. We got a Scrabble sandwich. You know what I mean?
It's like food down there is like totally different. Even like Quan that's on our show. He lived in Raleigh for a good minute. So I used to go down there and visit him all the time, and like even the Golden Corral down there was different. Like I'm just like, yo, this is like where we at is some bullshit compared to this.
I'm trying to tell you, the further you go south, the better it gets.
The more stuff,
I mean,
you know,
you might not like the people that you're around, but you're gonna eat fucking good.
And I will say this: Eastern North Carolina, where you were in Raleigh, is like right there at the edge of when they started to do barbecue. Because Eastern North Carolina barbecue is like that's some apex shit. You can't get that in Charlotte. I'm talking about that vinegar based barbecue. Nigga. When I tell you, it's
okay, that's again another not really quasi South type of situation. That's what that is. Nobody like no vinegar based bullshit. Get the fuck out of here.
Vinegar based barbecue is the best barbecue.
You pretentious motherfucker. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait, you like dry rub, Brian? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, like if you ain't eating Memphis style or Northern Mississippi. Really, that's where the niggas. That's where the Memphis folks stole it from.
I be thinking that too. I was thinking the same thing. I have never been to a bad barbecue in Mississippi in my life, like my entire life. I'm talking about even if they just came from the stove, whatever they whipping up in that kitchen is the fact.
In North Carolina, I've been to bad barbecues. Because they vinegar bullshit.
You know how I know in North Carolina when the barbecue gonna be some bullshit. Is if they got electric smokers. If you got electric smokers,
oh come on!
Like
somebody might pull that out the oven.
Oh yeah.
You know who does electric smokers? Max Speed Shop got electric smokers, and I was like, I knew this didn't taste right. It don't.
Yeah,
right.
Where's the old grease? I'm supposed to taste some barbecue from a whole nother day that's still on the grill. Like
be able to ride by your restaurant, smell
it
off your bitch.
You should be calling me from the road.
Exactly.
Did y'all smell that? Oh man, it's gone up in there.
I think that's the problem I have.
Two places in Goldsboro. It's McCall's, which is a buffet, and it's Wilbur's. And both of those spots are like hole in the wall. Like you walk in there, you can like feel the oppression. You know what I'm saying? You walk in there, you step back 57 years.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem I have with a lot of I guess you would say northern and I also call it western barbecue. Because you go out west, it's the same thing. Where it's like electric type of cooking of in the stove and oven, all that kind of shit. No, that ain't working, bro. You need to have somebody back there chucking wood, and you need to have some kind of homemade apparatus to smoke this stuff. So, like, if it's somebody with some, I done seen cats put like 10 roofs over basically cinder blocks and they shoveling wood underneath it.
Say the grill got a name. It had been in place. It was handed down from his father to his father.
Yeah. Your restaurant is a one-room shack that literally has no chair or 3 chairs with holes in them, and it's standing room only. You're like, God.
Exactly. If your restaurant, your barbecue restaurant, too nice, that's another thing. I don't want to eat there. It need to be a hole in the wall. It need to be ratty with nowhere to sit. You ain't got no. The service is awful. She ugly. What do you want?
What do you want?
And like I said, if I come in, if I can't see like I said, some homemade apparatus to cook this barbecue, I know it's gonna suck. Like you gotta have like
cinder block.
You just gotta have creators. Like I done had cats just create some shit in their head. Like, oh shit, I bet if I put a grate over a hole with some wood, I can cook something. I'm gonna do that.
Is he back there digging the barbecue up out the ground?
That'd be the best ones because I've seen like in California, I will say Canada like compare. You know how they have like their own compare foods, but I was actually in well, I guess it was still like the Oakland area, right. Yeah, it was still in Oakland. Like they had literally like one of those diamond grates, those big grates you put on those real big smokers. They had like 2 cinder blocks and was literally taking chicken out of a bucket, slapping it on there. But when I tell you, when that chicken was the fire, and they did the corn with the mayo and the cheese and oh my God. But once again, it was homemade. Look at it. It just had that look like, you know what you're doing.
That reminds me of what's that chick on Twitter? The cheating vegan. Well, when I tell you she posts something, every time she posts something, I get hungry. I be like, where is this? You be somewhere in California, somewhere I can't go. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, that.
Yeah, she be
No,
cold.
you don't live anywhere near this food.
Like people that grill on the grills and the stuff that y'all talking about, the creative ones, they like real grill masters because it ain't no controlling the fire.
Right.
Like,
No.
it's like, yo, how you doing? Like, it's like,
Yo.
how you know the temperature of that? Like,
the temperature. I just know when it's done. I just know the thermometer. Poke my meat. What are you talking about? Poke my meat. I know when that's done.
Hey, reminds me when we was in Jamaica. So we was in Jamaica, and the part of the excursion was we went to a barbecue place to eat. So we go out to this place, and basically they got some just tin roof over some coals behind them, and they done laid out chickens, half pig, half hog, everything.
Shit you put on your roof that on the little
the tin roof,
the corrugated roof
on top of the chicken. I'm like,
and then
my wife looking at me like, we finna eat. I'm like, hell yeah, we finna eat. What do you mean?
You eat stuff that wouldn't even pass, man. Wouldn't
not
pass
a nano test. The CDC shutting all that down.
You can't pass inspection with this shit.
The building gonna fail because of OSHA regulations. This motherfucker leaning to the side. We ain't even supposed to be in here.
I will say that's the one thing about Jamaica is that like you will find some jerk chicken anywhere, and I guarantee you, the more rattier it looks, the better the chicken tastes. So it's a guy on the side of a corner with a barrel and some chicken on top of it. Eat from him because it's gonna be the best jerk chicken you never had.
We went to Jamaica. We had left the club, and I don't drink, but I had a couple red stripes. And outside the club, it was this cat on the side of the road with a barrel and some jerk chicken, chopping that joint up. You know how they do it. We chop it bones up and all, just like a cleaver, just like chop, 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 chop. And it's like he like scrape it up and just handed it to you on a plate. Ooh, boy, when I tell you that put you in my happy place, I was like, yo, I wouldn't eat like this nowhere else. But in Jamaica, man, you be just so happy.
When in Rome.
Exactly. You do what
just
they do.
Do it.
Hey, so speaking of food, I know I don't know if you guys are aware, but Travis Scott has a meal at McDonald's.
Yeah, I still hadn't tried it yet.
He got a meal at McDonald's, right? And so I rode by McDonald's today, and the line was wrapped around the building twice. And I was like, what is this? What is happening? I know a lot of people ain't there for this Travis Scott meal because I knew he had a meal, but I was like, what's so special about it? So I looked it up, and it's literally just a quarter pounder with cheese with bacon and some fries with barbecue sauce and a Sprite. I was like, bitch, you could have gotten that
last week. Anytime.
No.
That's the way I eat my food anyway.
I feel like it's just a product of McDonald's because like McDonald's for some odd reason always run out of something, and when they run out of something, that can cause all kind of delays. Like one day I went to McDonald's and them bitches were out of fries. Don't explain to me how you run out of fries, but they were out of fries. Now rather than telling me that they were out of fries, they just hand me my bag and I go on about my business. I'd be like, yo, down the street, I ain't got no goddamn fries. Turn around, had to come all the way back, had to get a refund for some fries. I was hot.
They didn't tell you. Speaking, okay. It's a good point. You're talking about people with shitty service. Because you were talking about Popeyes, and we kind of mentioned this on Twitter the other day. Popeyes should not have food as good as their service is. Their food far surpasses the level of service. They got like McDonald's service with Chick-fil-A food. That shit don't sit right with me.
Imagine it being better years ago. Cause like I have when I had Popeyes when they finally came back, I made a special trip to Winthrop. All the way in Rock Hill. And I bit into it, and it was the nostalgia, but it was still like it ain't got that. Cause I've had Popeyes on Canal, like right on Canal Street in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I know what Popeye's supposed to taste like. And it was like, y'all didn't do that third and fourth shake of the seasoning, but it's still good. Y'all didn't put that last little dredge on there, but it was still good. But dude, Hey, look, they came out with a chicken sandwich that had people committing murder.
Yeah.
Committing goddamn felonies for that.
Since the hype has died down for the sandwich, this is when I've been smashing it. I've been eating that chicken sandwich like every
regular
week, once or twice a week. I'm there eating the chicken sandwich every single time.
I'm with Graham, but imagine if you didn't get it when it first came out. That sandwich it's still good, but it's not as good as when they didn't change something. They had to cut back somewhere to pump them chicken sandwiches out.
I mean, it's still good. It's
still good. But it had a lot more, like you said, that somebody they started skipping them extra last 3 shakes on that season. But it's like you said, it's still good.
We went in there the other day, and as soon as we pulled up to the drive-thru, she's like, "We out of white meat." Hold on, ho! I didn't.
Hello. Can we
I don't even like white meat anyway.
I wasn't gonna order white meat.
Man.
We ain't got no white meat. All we got is chicken sandwiches and legs. I'm like, give me a chicken sandwich. We out of spicy. Bitch, stop.
Hey, that reminds me of how McDonald's, ice cream machine used to always be out. You pull up to McDonald's and all you want is a strawberry milkshake. Yo, can I get a strawberry milkshake? Ice cream machine don't work.
Down.
When is it working? I done been by here 3 times this week and it's never working.
Never worked. I've never gone and it worked.
That's right. So there is a Bojangles up here, right? It's like it's like 2 in the whole state of Maryland that I know of, and so the one of them is in PG County, Maryland, and so my man lives in the area, so I think we out there watching football just a couple years back. So he say Bojangles, we like, yo, let's do that. Yo, we pull up, we walk in the store and everything. We like, yo, we gonna need like we gonna need like 20-piece joint. Yo, the shorty was like, we out of chicken. We like,
why are y'all still open?
Like, so what are you selling? Like, because isn't that what you got? Like, isn't that the basis of your store? Like, we don't have no chicken. We like, we all look like, yeah, you playing, right? She was like, no, we out of chicken. I'm like, y'all should be going home early then, because I mean that's what everybody coming here for.
Nobody comes in like, yo, let me get all the bowl rounds y'all got. Like,
I just want rice.
I've had that happen at a Bojangles.
It says famous chicken and biscuits. If you don't have shit,
just
you gotta have chicken and or biscuits. That's what I'm saying. Like, you better have chicken and biscuits.
Yeah, we would like, all right, like, well, thanks for wasting our time. You could have put that sign on the door or something.
Lock the door, put the sign in the front, say we out of chicken, and we'll figure it out.
We're done.
And everything. Like, yo, I really want this. Nah, we ain't got none of that. Why did you leave with that? Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and transition. We're gonna start interviewing my man, because I want him to tell us all about all of the freaking things that Off the Record is doing right now, man. Y'all busy. You're busy dudes, man. Busy dudes.
Yeah, so, man. You trying to stay busy.
I've been messing with Off the Record. God, man, probably. I think y'all was one of the first dudes. Like, we were talking about Akeem. I think you was one of the first dudes I fuck with when I first got on Twitter and started doing this. Trying to promote the podcast on Twitter. So the growth that I've seen in you guys and what you've been trying to move towards and trying to do has been, man, it's been really crazy, especially with the Black Network, because I'm like, it's so few. We kind of touched on this a little bit last week with Devlin, because we were talking about how, the whole Joe Buddens and ownership and things like that. But since then, Charlemagne has announced that he has his own. iHeart says they got their own Black.
Exactly.
like it's like I put you in charge, like you the supervisor. Like, hey, iHeart and Charlemagne open a network. Nigga, is you the supervisor or is you the boss? Because it ain't sound like you the boss. It sound like iHeart the boss. We're not gonna get into that. We're not gonna.
I kind of want him to get into that, because I really want to know his thoughts on how seemingly Joe Budden's project went to hell, and all of a sudden he comes out with this magical announcement like, I got my own. Guess what?
Not only that, Joe Budden was dogging him out saying you don't own shit. And then magically a week later you got a network. I'm like, come on, son. Anyway, tell the people about what y'all got going on right now, and then we can talk a little bit about Charlemagne and his network.
So OTR itself, we still had a regular podcast. We moved into so we kind of like what you're doing, Country Boy, like with the history one. We kind of we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves, so we kind of moving into different subcategories, if you want to call it that. So we have OTR, which is the regular podcast, and then bi-weekly we'll be doing what we call OTR film. And that's where we try to keep it at a black film or a film with majority blacks in it or whatever, and we'll watch it, and then we'll just preview it or review it or whatever on an episode. We try to do that bi-weekly. The last one we did was the Jamie Foxx thing.
Project Power.
Project Power. Yeah.
I don't know, one of the two.
Yeah, it was probably Project Power, something like
Project
that.
Power.
Yeah. So we're doing that. We also announced that we're going into doing an OTR sports segment, which will be headlined mainly by Brandon and Quan. That idea came about because, like we all sports fans, but those two, Brandon is a Giants fan, Quan is a Washington Football Club fan. So they go at it they go at it all the time. And I'm like, yo, we need to get this like recorded. The way y'all go at it, like I'm sure people will get a kick out of peeping that. So we're gonna do that, but that'll be strictly live stream. We partnered with Sportscaster, and they allowed us to jump on to do a live stream whenever we want to. We're gonna try to do that. We're looking at Sundays or Mondays with that. So that's OTR itself. Then Alex and myself started Crossover Media, which is a black-owned podcast media company. And I like to say that, that's his baby. That's Alex's baby. It's my stepchild. You love your stepchild all the same. You know what I mean? But it's his brainchild. He came up with it, and he brought it to me. He pitched it to me, and like I said, I've known this dude for over 20 years, and like he sent me like a PowerPoint presentation on this shit, and I'm like, all right, yo, you serious? Like you really want to do this?
As you can see on slide 5.
Yeah, I'm like,
I see the profit margins. I'm like, okay.
I'm like, I know you, bro. You could have just said, yo, what's up? You trying to get down with this? So, so we talked and we mapped out some things, and right now we have 10 podcasts deep that's signed to us, and we got some announcements coming Monday with some other podcasts that wanted to join on with us. So surprisingly, we weren't expecting it to be to jump off the way that it is, and to have this many people that would buy into what we're saying and what we want to help with. We basically all of the podcasts that signed with us. They have followings. They do things their own way, but a lot of them haven't touched the streaming market. So we wanted to help them with that, and introduce them to that. And we also partnered with Crossover. We also partnered with Sportscaster as well, who basically let us build our own sub network within their network. And you'll see that some of our shows will broadcast live on Sportscaster, and it will say, Sportscaster, or it'll say OTR, that's powered by Crossover or whatever. Once we go live under their platform. So Sportscaster has been huge, man, and they've been also pretty big and helpful with us because, like, you know, they were sports based, but they letting us, you know, do the sports and culture thing. So we like one of the first platforms that they allow them to do that, which is big, and that's kind of off the strength of Alex because Alex built those platforms and he built those relationships with his first podcast, the Lake Central podcast.
Yeah, which is big stuff.
Yeah, so he doing big things with that. So yeah, man, we busy, man, but we wanted to with the crossover thing. You know, our motto has been, you know, like we're not asking for a seat or at the table. We trying to build the table, and
Right.
part of the reason why we became so passionate with this is, we started to study some of these other networks,
Mm-hmm.
and we looked at their board of directors and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody looked like us. You know what I'm saying? Nobody looked like us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, we got to change that. You know what I mean? And that's what we set out to do, man. And the Charlemagne thing, you know, I'm happy to see it. You know, I'm happy that we have those platforms. He got some heavy hitting shows on his lineup too, which is cool.
I mean, just 85 South alone, you could put a whole platform on that.
Yeah, I mean, he got 85 South. He got Up in Smoke. He got he got Jess Hilary is gonna be doing one, and
she didn't have one before this. She
I think,
yeah.
I think
cut it up, cut it out, something like that. I know Steve Smith one on his network also.
Yeah, I mean he got some. I think he signed. Didn't he sign Noriega?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another heavy hitter. It's Noriega.
So he got some. They got some big names on it. My issue with it though is like platforms like that and a name like his, which rings bells. You know, everybody knows who Charlemagne is. You know, you have the power to put a podcast like us, like ours, on, like your podcast, like our podcast, like Ron and Cut, like any of these indie podcasts, man. Like, it's a lot of these indie podcasts that's doing numbers and doing things, like doing big things, man. And I would have liked to see him take a shot on one of these indie podcasts that just needs that nudge. You know what I mean? that they're not getting. So that's the only thing that I'm not really feeling about that. Like, everybody he signed has a name and a built-in fan base already.
He signed a bunch of podcasts that don't need you. That don't need him. They didn't need the network. You know, you signed Noriega. Noriega was doing fine, but without you, it's the equivalent of you signing, you know, Joe Budden's. Joe Budden's podcast is fine with or without you. Bringing them into a network kind of feels like
nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Because join forces to be one, you know, like my network has these people on it, so it makes the network more, you know, more. It brings more light to that.
Basically, you get a power structure where the rich and famous are basically doing favors for the rich and famous, whereas, like, bruh, what are you doing to lift up all the rest of the people who need lifting up?
Right, and that's my thing. Like, I just feel like, you know, if I was able to get on that, if I ever got to that size platform, like, I would be looking at the indie podcasts, because those dudes, like, they grinding like a lot. And I'm not taking away from any of these other podcasts or the well-known podcasts, but to say that they don't have an advantage already because of who they are, like I said, that's a built-in fan base. Like, we've built our fan bases from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just regular dudes. Yeah, like you guys, you know, regular dudes from North Carolina and Charlotte in the South, and we regular dudes from Maryland. Like, nobody knew us. Like, we just built. So we've all built our platforms from the ground up, and to kind of not, you know, to look at that and say that that's not like super grind worthy. Like, I would just rather see him, you know, hang his hat on or take his chance on one of these or some of these indie podcasts, man, and give them that platform.
And especially when because I'm the kind of person, I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts, mostly because I like to run my own race and do my own thing. But there are a couple of them. It's like, you know, I listen to Joe Budden's when he was talking about leaving Spotify, and I listened to 85 South, who I was especially impressed by because most of their podcast and episode was just them on stage winging it in front of a live crowd, which is fucking hard.
Right.
Now, they've gotten a more structured, recently since COVID. They've been on the couch and having guests and things like that. It's far more structured, but 90% of them are the ones with a name I'm unimpressed with. I'm like, nigga, that could be us. We not doing nothing special. Like for everyone that I'm looking at, and I'm like, 85 South they tough. They doing something special. The rest of them, I'm like, this could be anyone. This could be an indie. The only thing this person brings to the table, Joe Budden's included, is the fact that he's Joe Buttons. That's the only thing that you were doing extraordinary in the beginning. So when people are like, I'm like, yo, I don't really fuck with this person or that person. They're like, why? They're a podcast or creator like you. They struggle not with my struggle. They struggle different. Struggle from out the mud. And when they came into it, they brought a ready-made audience. Like, hey, I know you. I remember you from this project or that project. I might give your shit a shot. But for me, I have to say, hey, I'm screaming at people. Listen to my shit. Listen to my podcast. Please. Please listen to my podcast.
Got them CDs in front of the grocery store.
Hey, put that in with your bag, cuz. Put that in with your bag.
Give me five. Give me five.
Right. I'm selling CDs out the trunk.
Yo, it got so bad. Like when we first started, like, I would literally ask people for their phones. Like, yo, you listen to podcasts? Okay, let me see your phone. And I would plug our podcast into their phone. Like, that's just how, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's where we come
I know
from.
you got it now.
Yeah, like, it's in there. So, like, that's the type of, that these indie podcasts in, man. And
that's so bad to my mom. I was like, Mom, you listen to my podcast? My wife, hey, listen to my podcast.
Hey, at least put it on while you're doing something. Like you ain't gotta listen, just put it on.
Yeah, man.
All right, go ahead.
And that's the thing that we wanna push with crossover. We wanna help get that out there, especially with the Black podcast, man. Because I mean, as y'all know, it's a community that kind of formed on its own. You know what I mean? But it's so much talent out there. And this is not our jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like we got regular jobs, we got families. We find time to do this. So we want to bring that to the forefront, man, and start to broadcast some of this talent out here, man. It's talent. Like you mentioned the Sort of Goods. Dan at the Sort of Goods. It's talent,
man.
Like it's talent of all colors, of course, in this game. But like, there's a lot of brothers and sisters out here that's doing their thing too, man. That we wanna push too. So
yeah, and this is, to that point, was one of the reasons why I knew you guys trying to diversify, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to try to diversify a bit and give people something different than they're getting from Black podcasters on a regular basis. And that's what ended up being the vision for the Black History one. But I feel like there also are other lanes for Black podcasters to delve into that they don't expect from us on a regular basis. We don't always have to be conversational or banter type of podcast. And even though I know people enjoy those things, but we have a lot more that we can offer in their other lanes. And when I started doing research on it, I wanted to see where people weren't. Where are you not? So that I can try to get into that lane and see if I can dominate there, which is actually kind of been working because, on Chartable, what was I, 159 in the world for history podcast, which is like, the hell? What if I don't deserve to be here?
Well, that is dope. And when I saw that, I was like, that's what I want to see. Like, I was happy to see that because, we put in work, man. And I know doing a history podcast, I know, and I can imagine how much work that is. You know what I mean? So to see that, some of us are getting that recognition from it, man, is good. And I'm glad that you decided to do that. First of all, the idea behind it, once you first told me, I was like, yo, you'll kill that, because it's like you said, it's not many people doing it, especially Black folks doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the few that I've heard, like, none of them. I haven't heard a bad one yet because you're drawn in because everybody wants to learn something, right?
Right.
So it's like watching a documentary, right?
Right.
Because you're like, man, and what keeps you drawn into a documentary is like you learn something about whoever the documentary is on that you haven't learned or you don't know. So that's the same thing with the history podcast. Like you schooling people, and that's what keep people drawn in, and that's what's going to keep listeners coming.
Right. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do, that I look into with the cut, is trying to build value with the cut and with the Black History Podcast. This is the reason why I started bringing on guests, because I wanted to be able to offer people some value when they're listening to the cut. Like, okay, hey, I know that you're listening and we bantering back and forth, but it's a lot of Black creators out here who are doing amazing things. And I want you, and not just Black creators, but creators in general who are doing amazing things. I want to be able to show you some of these guys who, while we in here making you laugh, being silly, talking about Popeyes or whatever. Popeyes, whatever. Anyway, we're gonna move forward and get and I guess we got about 20 more minutes left, and let's talk about some silliness, some foolishness.
Oh, whoa! Before we go silly, had a question for you, OTR.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you feel about the Joe Biden and the Democratic Party and that whole situation moving forward?
Even heavy.
It's one of those things. It ain't it's not much Joe can do that's going to turn me away from voting for him. I'm sorry. I'm not voting for that other dude. I just can't. It's not.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. I just don't think that. I just don't think this country can withstand another 4 years of that. It's bad. Like the fortune, the misfortune that the country has been going through this year alone, like it just doesn't. It's not like that for no reason. It just didn't. You know what I mean? Like certain things, like even though people say, "Oh, it's a pandemic," like you don't know when these things hit. Oh, yes, you do, because they hire people that watch this type shit going on that say, "Oh, this shit is going on over here, or going on over there," so we need to prepare for that shit. And obviously, we did not. So, what's going on in 2020 is just not. It's not happening just randomly. It's happening because of poor leadership. So, Joe got his shit with him. Some things that Joe is. I'm like, come on, Joe. Come on, Joe.
Yeah. I promise. All you got to do is walk in. You can walk in. All you got to do is say, "Hey."
He's been a human gas machine for. He's been in politics for 40 years, and he's been like
47.
For 47 years. He's been like this. So you know what you're getting with Joe.
Yeah. It's So I'm like, Joe, come on, but it's like it's night and day to me when you're comparing the two candidates right now.
Yeah.
It's night and day. And anybody, I know we got people out here that's like, the Democratic, they got Black people feeling like they gotta vote for Democratic Party. Yo, listen, I get that, you know what I mean, but I think we all know to research the candidates and look who has your best interest at hand, right? Mm-hmm. It's nobody that can tell me that the other cat got the best interest. I don't want to hear that. Like I get the whole movement of like, be free thinking and think about the candidates. Don't just vote because you feel like you're Black and you have to vote for Democrat. I get all of that, but right now the best candidate is Joe Biden. You know what I mean? It goes back to the days. Remember, like some people said, like I had a conversation at work, and Colin Powell's name came up, and I'm like, yo, Colin, being a Republican and all of those things, like if it was some kind of way that he could have ran against Trump, we know that can't happen. But like, of course, researching him, but I would have considered that as well. Like, I'm not so much of that. What I'm trying to say is I'm not so much that dude that's strictly based on a party affiliation.
Right.
But I mean, to a certain extent, like I am locked in on a side. Like I'm gonna give it. We all choose a party for a certain reason, right? So you're gonna give the candidate of the party that you're affiliated with the benefit of the doubt to start off with. No doubt about it. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? You want to start off that way. And then it's up to that candidate to woo you one way or another, that both on both sides.
You live in Baltimore, don't you?
Yeah. And I heard y'all talking about the shorty up here.
Oh yeah.
How patronizing is she? How patronizing is you living in Baltimore? How patronizing is Kimberly Clack? Kimberly
Classic. I think it's her name. And that brings up another question. How do you feel about Kimberly Classic, the asshole? And what do you think about Amber Ivy, who offers the independent option?
So another thing, I'm glad you brought up Amber Ivy, because I heard you mention her when y'all talked about this.
Yeah.
So on the crossover podcast itself, Alex interviewed Amber Ivy.
Really?
Yeah. So
I saw that.
We had her on, and she's dope. She's dope as shit. And she won me over from talking to her. And unfortunately, like the district that she was running for, I could not. So she had a petition going to try to get her on to certain ballots.
Right.
The district that she's running for, where I live at is part of that district, but it's only a certain like section of it. So I couldn't sign the petition, but Amber Ivy is dope, and we need people like that in this area, especially Baltimore, to bring some youth, bring some, just to bring some. Y'all see what's going on up here.
Yeah, Amber Ivy explicitly focuses on a data-driven type of process. And that is something that is missing, especially when you talk about the fact that the guy who currently sits in that seat is just an old holdover from the guy who just passed away and was just anointed and moved on into that seat. And basically, he won the seat basically 75% to 25%. So Clacy got her ass.
It's an African cat, isn't it?
Yeah, his name is like I can't even pronounce his name.
I can't pronounce it. I'm not even trying.
Quasi Fume.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you. And so basically, he whooped Kim Classic's. He whooped Kim Classic's ass the first time.
Yeah.
And there is nothing that Kim Classic can say. She can put out all the right wing, white supremacist supported. White people love her for what she said, but that was some bullshit that she wants, but she won't stand a chance. But me, I feel like Amber Ivy is the real deal because she brings something to the table that is more important and more precedent on what is going on now, and would be a great candidate to move forward. But we all know how third-party candidates go in any race.
Yeah, it's so Baltimore as a city itself, man, it is driven by, Black people, and we vote Democrat in the city, right? So any candidate that's Democratic, they walking into all. So like the mayor's race in Baltimore is always one side. Like you almost don't even hear about the other candidates for mayor here, because it's like, all right, well, who's the Democratic candidate? All right, that's what we go with. You know what I mean? And so you have people like Amber Ivy that's running third party. You got some other people. I think his name is, don't quote me, but I think it's Bubba Wallace. I know we have a race car driver named Bubba Wallace, but it's a guy in Baltimore that's actually endorsed by Ray Lewis, that's running for some type of office.
It's a dude in Baltimore named Bubba Wallace.
Yes.
That is the most southern
name ever.
I'm like, the guy he quit driving race cars.
He left Richard Petty.
Yeah, he did leave Richard Petty. Yeah, but so these guys, they having a harder time being recognized and people actually listening to them, like the Amber Ivies and like this guy Wallace or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Klasick, man, listen. I don't know if y'all know like her true story, but
yeah,
she, she came out saying all this stuff about Baltimore and what Baltimore doesn't want to do for black people and X, Y, Z and all of this stuff.
after getting her ass whooped.
But then on top of that, like her backstory, so like her husband has like multiple baby moms. And all of this shit, like the shit that she talks about that goes on in Baltimore is like shit that she's living.
Like you married a white nigga, you weren't a white nigga.
So
this nigga that you married has multiple baby mamas, probably got a couple charges, been to jail. That's a nigga right there. What are you talking about?
Oh shoot!
When I read that, I
was like, I know she got a white husband. I didn't even have to look her up. I was like, she went full Candace Owens. Like, he was Owens' husband. He looked exactly like you think he would look. He looked like Jesus.
Yo,
you like that's definitely her husband.
Go ahead.
My beef with Candace Owens is that like her focus is on one topic and one topic only. Her topic is, or her focus is on, we need more black fathers in families, right? But she never ever looks at, well, what removed all these black fathers out of these families? Explain that, bitch. If you talk on that, you will actually find that the stuff that other people are trying to tell you.
She need more black fathers, and then she married a white dude.
No, her argument basically stems from the thing that most of the pro-family conservatives live on, which is that like a family structure, which is a mother or father, is the best household structure in order to raise productive U.S. citizens.
I can agree with that to a certain extent.
Right. But she never explains how these black fathers end up, or these fathers end up being taken away from their families. And that, my friend, is the problem.
They created this system and then clown you when you failing at it. Like,
right.
Like, he sent your father to jail and they're like, nigga, why you ain't got no daddy? You sent him to jail, what?
Right.
For jaywalking.
Yeah.
Like
a loaf of bread or bologna or something.
Like my favorite person who exemplifies, who can actually tell this story better, is Van Jones. And most black people know who Van Jones is. He's the basically right now he's a CNN correspondent, but he comes on basically whenever they need to talk about politics. But Van Jones had a seat at the Obama administration, but was kicked out due to whatever. But one of the things that he said is that in the past, in order to be a white male and fail, you had to work pretty hard in order for that to happen. Like you had to have been
to try hard.
Right. You had to snort crack, or you had to have done some really heavy shit in order to be a white man and fail. Well, when we came upon the minority movement and minorities started working harder and taking over, and not necessarily taking over, but started actually achieving things, it became the fact that white males actually had to start working, and these mediocre white males that we all work with actually had to work in order to get the positions and the power that they were traditionally just given. Then everything became a problem, and all of a sudden we had these issues. Well, that is kind of what you're seeing now.
Speaking of that, while you're talking about Van Jones' podcast is on Spotify underneath Bill Simmons. This is something that Joe Budden spoke about, that you took a black guy and could have given him had him underneath a network for another black guy, but no, what you did was you put him on Bill Simmons' network, and Bill Simmons does sports. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna put Van Jones under a white guy who's doing sports? How does that sit right? So when you talk about mediocre white guys, not to say that Bill Simmons is a mediocre white guy, but yeah, he kind of is. He kind of
Right.
Call a spade, brother. Call a spade a spade.
You know, I was trying to, because I mean, I don't hate Bill Simmons. I think he has his position in sports, but I feel like his lane is done better by other people. And a lot of times I look and see, why are you here? Because what do you bring to the table that I can't get from someone who's more talented than you? Right. You know what I'm saying? I think the same thing about Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is like, why are you here? What do you bring to the table other than being a dissenting opinion? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's all he is. Like I've watched him long enough to say, like, okay, that's your little shtick. And of course, because he was a writer previously, and in the writer's game, you could just write for a particular paper or a particular news corporation, and that was just your solidified position. You transition to TV and then use that knowledge as if you were knowledgeable about sports. Because it's actually infuriating as he argues football with a Hall of Fame football player. Right. Like, who are you talking to?
Wait.
Matt Kellerman does the same thing. Matt Kellerman is boxing. He knows he is a very good boxing analyst. But when you come on here and you're telling me that you're gonna get in an argument with a guy who actually played basketball, who actually played football. And you know boxing? Come on.
No, I'm gonna push back against you guys' narrative, and the reason why I'm gonna push back is because, again, these guys have put in the work. So again, talk about Max Kellerman. Let's start with Max Kellerman or Skip Bayless or whatever. They put in time actually learning the craft, actually reporting, writing stories, articles.
As a journalist.
Right, they put in, so they put in the work. So they actually put in the work. I got no beef with a person who put in the work being able to argue and articulate their point against somebody who, again, just played this game or played the sport or did whatever in a one-on-one argument or trying to push an agenda or narrative.
So what do you think is more valid? What do you think is more valid? Someone who watches the sport or someone who played the sport? Like,
somebody who
maybe you watched it and you study it and you understand the schemes, but you ain't never been a fucking lineman or a linebacker at a high level. You know what I'm saying? But you can speak on it intelligently versus a guy who was in the trenches and did the shit that you're talking about. Like, which is more valuable?
It would depend upon, again, what the person has done. Because, like, for instance, if you say that, like, oh, the only people who are knowledgeable about a sport are people who played the sport, well, then basically you negate everybody else's opinion. And that is not necessarily a good place to be in. But if a person comes in with no knowledge of anything, and that's where I get to some of the other people whom, you know, come in and want a Monday morning quarterback or whatever, who haven't spent very much time doing anything other than, yo, I've been at this for a year or two, I can tell you what's going on. No. Skip Bayless, Max Kellerman, and there are a lot of other people who have spent enough time reporting on the NFL, NBA, and all these kind of things to where they actually can have a valid opinion, and it can be seen as a resource and as a good valid.
My only caveat to that is, and the only caveat to that is, at a certain point, you have to give leverage to the person with the experience, because I've seen Skip make a point, but it's a emotional point, or it's a point to their mind state, which you may have been around people who have made their behavior will tell you what they may have been thinking. But with someone who is on the field, like his point is always something generally emotional. Like, oh, he had the heart, he had to get up and go, he has a motor, he has this, which is speaking from an emotional standpoint. If somebody says, like, no, the reason he didn't play that well because he was in he was in a bad position, or the position he took before I got out of my break is I didn't beat him out because he's faster, because I'm faster than him. I beat him out because I was knowledgeable of my routes. And once I say, hey, this person, you saw how they broke right at this position, that's why he got beat. But when you're continuously talking about he gave up, he didn't feel it. That's in those arguments. That's why I'll kind of lean towards the person.
You want to lean on Shannon when it's position driven. When you know for a fact from doing that he misstepped here or there.
Yeah. Well, see,
the ones that don't.
Well, see, that's the argument that Mark Cuban had with some people back when remember when Dallas won that championship, the NBA championship, and one of the things, the arguments that Mark Cuban was having was that, like, yo, y'all keep saying that LeBron, choked. Is basically that first Miami Heat championship game. Everybody said
I remember that one. I remember that.
Like they were like saying that LeBron choked. Mark Cuban came on and he said, no, y'all keep saying LeBron choked and everything like that. That's not what actually happened. What actually happened is that the Dallas Mavericks had a data-driven plan for what to do for LeBron, and they executed their plan to perfection, and they had guys fully committed to the plan, and that's what actually won Dallas that championship and lost Miami that championship. And basically saying that, like, using all of these colloquialisms for things like heart and grit and killer instinct and all of these things, what you're trying to do is you're trying to negate all of the fucking work that the Dallas Mavericks did, that I did, and that everybody who was associated with the organization did, in order to basically prop up and lift up our organization to win this championship, and thereby trying to discount our championship when it doesn't need to be discounted because we fucking did the work, they did.
Facto.
All right. What the hell is happening to my video again? Hang on.
I would say he just started moving really fast all of a sudden. Oh, OTR Mike, quick question. You're from Baltimore?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got family out there. Yeah, man. Where's the dude, man? What do you do? No, my cousin, like, I went to Baltimore like maybe 10 years. I mean, it was heavy. Like, I was like, oh, funny. Wow.
It's funny in Baltimore because we were in Washington, D.C. for I want to say it was a funeral. I think one of my wife's uncles died. Anyway, we were going to the funeral and we made a wrong turn or missed the exit or something. I fucked up. And all I seen was this sign said, and this was during the riots after Freddie Gray. You know what I'm saying? And all I seen was this sign saying, "Welcome to Baltimore." I was like, nigga, this is not what we want to first exit. We like, DC, northern cities in general. The northern cities are like, they nasty. Like, you live in the South, we're not used to this level of nastiness where it just smell like pee-pee. And
you say pee-pee?
Yeah, I said pee-pee. We like cigarette butts, and it's like you went into hell. It felt like you were going to hell. It's like, nah, nigga, not today.
I think the problem we have is that, like, we're not used to being from the South. We're not used to row houses, and the further you get up north, the more predominant these row houses are. Mm-hmm. And if for anybody who doesn't know, a row house is basically a townhouse, a block that consists of a bunch of townhouses.
Right.
And so it's not part of any community. It's not part of a HOA or anything like that. It's just built as a townhouse. And
right smack in the middle of the city.
Yeah, imagine a row of townhouses and then the street.
Yeah.
Sidewalk street. That's one thing we do not have a lot of.
Brownstones, like, in New York, like a brownstone. We went to stay in Philly, and Philly's another shithole northern town. Not to disparage your city, but man, I went to Philly and they took us to the north side, and it looked like a fucking war zone. Like, you guys are listening, you from Philly, I'm sorry. We rolled through. I was like,
you on North?
What is happening here? Is this? Are we in Fallujah? And so, we were staying with my wife's people. We were staying with my wife's people, and she had a duplex. And I'm from the South. We don't know nothing about no duplexes. I don't know what the fuck a duplex is. So we came in, and I'm like, which door is your door to the outside? Because I'm not understanding what's happening here. I go into a door, we go up some steps, and then I go into another door. Like, what is this, an apartment? He's like, no, I own both buildings. No, well, then which one is the door? Why don't you lock your door? Why is that door just like open? Like, lock that shit with. She's like, what it's like? It's just like a house within a house. I don't like it. I hate it here. I want to go home.
Yeah. Detroit used to be that same way with the blight, but what Detroit decided to do was they decided that eventually that they would start just knocking this shit down and returning it back to, I guess, a natural state. And so they started just knocking down houses left and right and just letting it be, just a grassy lot. And they would rather cut the grass than try to maintain a dilapidated house.
We need to do that. Hey, Ryan, we need to do that back home. Hey, just take a bulldozer and knock it all down. Because then there's some lots that it's like, okay, somebody is lived and died in there.
Anyway, so we're going to let OTR Mike tell them where they can find it one more time if they still listening. Go ahead and tell us where you can find your social media handles and the OTR.
Yeah, so OTR _Mike, that's my personal on Twitter. OTR _pod is the Twitter handle for the podcast. And we on IG at OTR _podcast and on Facebook at OTR _podcast. Also check out Crossover 365 when we're on Facebook, IG, and we're also on Twitter. You can find us on that handle. Check us out, man. We have a crossover podcast as well. That's just based. It's a podcast that's under the umbrella of Crossover Media. And like I said before, we interviewed some great people like Amber Ivy and stuff like that. Also, from 365, also from Crossover 365, we are looking to partner with some Black businesses to do some, any type of, sponsorships and other type of advertisements and stuff like that, to get some of their work out there to the masses the best we can. So, yeah, man, check us out. I appreciate you guys having me on again, man. It's always a pleasure. Anytime, let me know. I'm down.
Yeah, we always love having you on, man. It's like you like one of the crew. Anyway, bad guy G-Dub, Wicked Thurman, you can tell the people peace.
Hey, y'all take it easy. Remember, go vote. Wash your damn hands.
Please go vote and listen to the Black History.
Stop trying to go on people's business with no mask on.
Yeah. And don't read their mail.
That's right.